Howdy y'all, Caleb here. Today we're going to look at a couple lists for Seraphon that have done well over the past month or so. Since the last time we've done this kind of video. I've got 4 lists for you, and all of these lists went 4-1. I didn't see any 5-0 Seraphon over the past month. Not winning any GTs, but there's a couple of you guys out there that are doing really well with Seraphon and going 4-1, which is just awesome. So we're going to take a look at those, see what's kind of similar, what's different between them, and then have a look at specifically the Nova Open, because that was a really big tournament. And we'll look at some of the lists there. So first one we have is Brian Horton from the Old Town Roar in 24. We've seen his name pop up a couple times. He's a good Seraphon player here. Mr. Slann's Wild Ride. He is taking Shadow Strike Star Host, so you get some extra movement for your skink infantry or cavalry units there in the shooting phase, so you can move them, which is nice. Lore of Celestial Manipulation, so you've got your Comet's Call and your Speed of Huanchi to run and charge. Manifestation Lore is Morbid. You'll see that, and I think all of these that we're going to look at. Morbid is still just a really good manifestation lore, especially when you have a Slann, because without Morbid, I tend to run out of spells to cast with the Slann, so you really do need a manifestation lore that has a lot of spells to cast. And Morbid does that, and it still has good spells, especially Shackles. Shackles is amazing. All right. General's Regiment. We have a Slann Starmaster as our general with Coatl Familiar, so that way he can get an extra dice on one spell cast. I tend to like that a lot in the... Anytime I'm trying to counter cast a spell in the opponent's turn, that just helps you make sure it goes off. With the Slann's +1 to cast, this is a very powerful ability for a very specific spell that you want off. So that's good. We do have a reinforced unit of Aggradon Lancers, a minimum unit of Aggradon Lancers, reinforced unit of Raptadon Chargers, a reinforced unit of Saurus Warriors. Very nice. A skink in the 2nd regiment. We have a skink Starseer with Beastmaster to make the Aggradons and Raptadons go faster. 2 units of Hunters of Huanche with Bolas and an MSU unit of Raptadon Chargers. So a lot of different units here, and it plays the board well while still having a really good punch. In his General's Regiment, he does have a lot of stuff there. So you do have some flexibility when you get to the table of how you want to adapt your Honor Guard ability. And so, generally, the Aggradon Lancers don't... I mean, they take it well, but since it doesn't affect all their attacks, it's really only going to help them on the charge. But it's a good unit to use that for. So their spears are going to go to 2s and 2s if you're attacking something else in their regiment. I wonder if he puts it on the Saurus Warriors. So they have 2 attacks each. You've got 20 warriors. You're talking 40 dice. That will now be on 2s and 2s if you're attacking something in the General's Regiment. Or maybe he uses one of these as a bodyguard for his Slann. Doesn't have any guard here to protect the Slann, but maybe it doesn't matter if he's surrounded by all of those warriors. He's going to be very hard to get to and kill if he does have all those warriors around him. So, very interesting. I think it's Brian that we've talked about that's been using these Saurus Warriors to some pretty good effect. Maybe you play them to where you don't even worry about that +1 to save on their War Scroll. That ability is pretty difficult to get outside of just straight up deployment. Sometimes even in deployment it's hard to get because the objective's not holding your territory. So it is a lot of wounds, especially if you're taking the Asterism for -1 to Ren. So that Warriors is the most interesting part to me. I need to play some more Warriors. I haven't played him as much as I should, and I think he's got an interesting list here, where that's kind of your anvil. You've got your Aggradons as your hammer, your Warriors as your anvil, and then a whole lot of board control. So, great job, Brian. Next up, we have Basil. We've definitely talked about him before, playing some Seraphon. He is also taking Shadow Strike Star Host for the extra movement for the skinks. He is a 3-drop list, very interesting. Anytime you see something other than 2 drops, it kind of perks your eyes up a little bit. Well, what are they doing different here? We do have Lore of Celestial Manipulation, Morbid, also the same there. A Slann with Coatl Familiar. I think you'll see that combination there a whole lot in Seraphon. We do see a unit of Kroxagore, and that's the only unit in... Is this the General's Regiment? It doesn't have it listed here, but that's got to be the General's Regiment because of the Slann. So, Kroxagore and the General's Regiment, you're probably not taking the priority target on the Kroxagore because they're already hitting on 2s. So you're taking the +1 rend versus whatever you're playing against, or bodyguard the Slann. Now, nobody's going to want to attack these Kroxagore when they're -1 to hit, and then the Kroxagore get to fight back. Or not -1 to hit, -1 to attacks. So, a very good bodyguard for the Slann. I like that. Regiment 2 is Skink Starseer with 2 units of Hunters and a reinforced unit of Raptadon Chargers. Regiment 3 is a Star Priest with Beastmaster, so you can make any of your Raptadons go faster. Another reinforced unit of Raptadon Chargers and 2 MSU units of Raptadon Chargers. So here's a lot of things that can score objectives, a lot of screens before you can bring in the hard hitters, which would probably be the Raptadon Chargers, one of the reinforced ones, or the Kroxagore. Kroxagore are obviously going to hit harder than the Raptadon Chargers, but Raptadon Chargers when they're charging, when they get some buffs on them, which there aren't many, but when they get a few buffs on them, they can kill some stuff. So, very good, a good list there. Lots of board control, lots of movement. It's going to be a very, very fast list with Beastmaster and Shadow Strike Starhost, and then Raptadon Chargers. These things will fly across the board. If you need to, put the Asterism on for +2 to move, and they can essentially go anywhere. Run and charge. These things are so fast. Next 4-in-1 was Aiden from Gateway Open, and he is taking a Sunclaw Starhost. So a little bit of a different battle faction. So now you can do an extra pile-in and some mortal wounds at the end of each turn. Very useful. You can grab objectives that way. You can pull in other units that way. You can, sometimes the mortal wounds is just all you need to finish something off. So if you have a lot of Source or Kroxagore in your list, Sunclaw is a good way to go. Same thing here, Celestial Manipulation for the lore, Morbid Conjuration, and we have a Slann, who doesn't have Coatl Familiar, though. So our General's Regiment is a Slann and a reinforced unit of Source Guard. Makes for a good General's Regiment there. You're probably making them bodyguard your Slann for -1 attacks if somebody's coming to attack them. It just makes a very hard core to defeat. All those guard are going to have a 5-up ward, and so is the Slann. And then they should be -1 to attacks if you come into them. Regiment 2 is the Scar Veteran on Aggradon with Incandescent Retresses and Beastmaster. So he will be a little hard to kill, and he's going to buff up your Aggradons. We have 1 reinforced unit of Aggradons, so they're kind of operating as their own power pair there. We have our first power pair here with the Slann and the Source Guard. Then we have the next one with the Scar Veteran on Aggradon and your Aggradon Lancers. They'll be able to move pretty fast. You can give them run and charge. Same kind of thing. It's not Seraphone's not a complicated army. There's not a whole lot of different ways that you can go with this. You're going to have some cavalry going fast. You're going to have some spellcasters trying to bring them back, and then board control. Next regiment is the Starseer with some Kroxagore. They are the normal Kroxagore, so you're hunting for infantry with these guys. And then a couple units of Raptadon Chargers to probably play the edges, be your screens, or grab objectives. So good all-around unit there with a couple of different really good power pairs. The Skink Starseer can hang out with the Kroxagore if need to make them faster and hopefully shut off a ward as needed. So each of these regiments kind of plays into its own. You could almost deploy these regiments on different areas of the board. They pair well together. All right, next one we have from NashCon. We have Dillon from NashCon, Age of Sigmar GT. Man destroys God, man creates dinosaur. Is his list name? Okay, interesting. We have a Sunclaw Starhost. So the same type of Kroxagore and Source themed list. As always, Celestial Manipulation and Morbid Conjuration. You kind of see a theme there. Slann Starhost as our general, with Coatl Familiar and Beastmaster on here. All right, so he's probably, I guess he's deploying his Slann Starmaster next to or near his Aggradon Lancers. And what else we got that would benefit from that? Oh, it's a 2-list. It's a 2-list format. Okay. Well, let's take a look at his first list. This one's a little bit harder because when you have a 2-list, it is fun to do it this way, but you do get a choice on which army you get to use going into what you're facing. So here we can make the Aggradon zoom with Beastmaster. We have a Bastiladon with Arc of Sotek. Cool. Still a decent piece. It can throw out some mortal wounds. It'll last longer in combat than generally people think with that 2-up save. 270 points is probably a little steep, but it has a role and it does it pretty well. Raptadon Charger, Source Guard to protect the Slann, Skink Starseer, a couple of Hunters, and some Kroxagor. All right, pretty nice. I guess the one twist is kind of having that Bastiladon with Arc of Sotek in there. Let's see, what's his list 2? Oh, you didn't see the magic word. Oh, no, do we not have any? Oh, no, we still have some casters. 3-drop. We have a Slann, Raptadon Chargers. Ooh, very, very thin General's Regiment, so you're just trying to make sure that nobody can score those battle tactics versus these. Nice. Scar Veteran on Aggradon with, let's see, 9 Lancers. Not bad. He's got Beastmaster there. And then some Hunters with the Starseer and Kroxagor. Okay. So just a little bit of variation between the 2 lists. Taking out the Bastiladon with Arc of Sotek to add in a little bit more board control pieces and higher drops. So maybe he's choosing his list based on how many drops his opponent has. If his opponent has high drops, maybe you go with the 3-drop list. All right. Looking over at Nova, we had a lot of people at Nova, 167 players. And so a big tournament there. It was won by Caleb Walters. You can see some pretty common names up here as this tournament drew in the usual suspects. We've got Caleb Walters, Thomas Wan, and Gavin Greiger at the top, and you'll recognize a lot of these names here at the top of the list. I was looking for Seraphon, and unfortunately, I had to go to the next page to find Seraphon. So our first Seraphon player came in at 42, I believe. Yeah, 42. We had Connor Sell. He won 5 and lost 3. So let's take a look at his list. He is in Shadow Strike, 2-drop. Celestial Manipulation, Morbid Conjuration, same as normal. A Slann with Coatl Familiar, kind of the same type of loadout there. Some Hunters of Huanche, 2 reinforced unit of Kroxagor Warspawn, very nice. So some heavy hitters here. I do like the Kroxagor Warspawn. I've kind of fallen in love with them as my personal pet unit. Well, I mean, a lot of people play them. That's not like it's anything special there, but they are a lot of fun. And I find it fairly easy to get their +1 to damage, especially if you're in Shadow Strike and you have some Hunters. I'm not going to say it's guaranteed, but it's almost guaranteed. Whatever you're going to go attack with the Kroxagor, you save those Hunters of Huanche, drop them down outside of 9 in the shooting phase. Now you can Shadow Strike them, D6 forward, and then charge them into whatever the Kroxagor are going to fight. And it's almost like a +1 damage on delivery for 90 points. So not too bad. It's a good strategy if you don't have any other way to proc that. He does have some Raptadon Chargers, so maybe the Raptadon Chargers are playing that role, and he's using the Hunters to go around and score battle tactics and things. But it does give you some flexibility based on what you want to do. So a unit of Source Guard there. A Stegadon Chief. All right. If you happen to see this, Connor, let us know what was the thought behind the Stegadon Chief. Look, I love Stegadons, but it doesn't quite seem to pay dividends, at least in the games I've played. Now, you know when you charge him, you have a chance to do some decent mortal damage. You could do up to 5 mortal wounds on the charge. You're always going to do mortal wounds in the charge or in the combat phase based on the rampage he has, but you can hit that up higher. The attacks aren't horrible. You get a little bit of shooting, so maybe it's just kind of a little bit of a utility piece. It helps you unlock the skink stuff in this regiment. Maybe it saves you a command point because he does have Reptilian Cunning on here. So if you issue all-out attack to something like the Kroxagore or to himself, Stegodon Chief, the attacks that matter, and the Kroxagore are both hitting on 4s and 2s. So that, you really need all-out attack on them. So if you're using that, it doesn't cost you a command point. So there is some use there. But an interesting pick. Does give you a little bit of shooting, a little bit. And not a bad hero, but you don't see it played very often. So well done, Connor, going 5 and 3 with a Stegodon Chief. That's what I like to see. All right, next up, we had a couple. I think I was going to look at 2 more Seraphon lists here. We had Harry. I think let's see, he went 4, 3, and 1. And then also versus Samuel. I wonder if they played each other in that last game. Probably so. No, played somebody else, I guess. How funny, though, that they both tied. All right, let's take a look at this list. Harry, I've seen his name pop up a lot. I look at a lot of Seraphon lists, so I can't remember if I've featured one of his lists in the videos before, but I think he's been playing this list a whole lot because I've seen his name pop up in a bunch of like one-dayers and stuff. So Sunclaw Star Host, Celestial Manipulation, Morbid, Slann with Coatl Familiar. Oh, yes. Oh, I thought it was a 1-drop. I was getting excited. I thought it was 1-drop. Because you can do a 1-drop with the Slann. It's not very flexible, but you can. All right. Slann Starmaster with Coatl Familiar and Beastmaster. 2 units of Aggradon Lancers. Very nice. 2 units of Source Guard. All right. So this makes your just absolute anvil right here with what is that? 20 Source Guard. So that's 40 wounds. That will be on a 3-up, 5-up. So a very tough unit to grind through. So I like that. We have, in the next regiment, we have Skink, Starseer, and 3 units of Hunters of Huanche. All right. I like this list. It's got a lot of board play. It's got 2 good wizards. It's got your, alpha striking Aggradon Lancers if you want them to be, and then your Anvil of the Source Guard. So very nice. I like that list. I like it. And the last one, we'll look at Samuel's list here. All right, we got a 3-drop list. Same thing. Eternal Star Host. Okay, so he's going for the teleporting battle formation, whatever it's called, sub-faction battle formation. Okay, interesting. Let's see what he's going to be teleporting. So we have Lord of Celestial Manipulation, Morbid Conjuration, same as always. Slann, Starmaster, as in our General's Regiment with Kroxagore. So a lot of times, the times I take it like that, I'm either doing the +1 rend versus whatever my opponent has, or that bodyguard so that they're -1 attacks. So I like that as a, in your General's Regiment. It really limits the times that people can score things against your General's Regiment because a unit of 6 Kroxagore is really hard to kill. There's 6 wounds each. They end up being harder to kill than most people think. All right, Regiment number 1 is a Scar Veteran on Carnosaur with Incandescent Retresses and Being of the Stars. Nice. So this is, I've played this before, and I find either an army will not be able to kill him with this loadout because you're going to be healing, you're going to be unrendable. They're either just not going to be able to kill him, or they'll one-shot him and it's not a big deal. It doesn't seem to be anything in between, at least in the games I've played. So I like him. I've kind of done the same thing my last tournament. So a Scar Veteran on Carnosaur, that same loadout, and then 2 MSU units of Aggradon Lancers. They can play the board pretty well. They'll stand up to most things that will be like attacking you on the flanks and things, and they're fast enough to score battle tactics and objectives and things. So I like that as a regiment. The regiment number 2, but the 3rd regiment is Starseer, a unit of Hunters, a Stegodon, and some Pterodon Riders. Okay, interesting. Our second list with a Stegodon. What are you doing with that Stegodon? Are you? What are we teleporting? Maybe we're teleporting a Stegodon just to be a nuisance. Maybe it's going to be harder to kill. It does create a little bit of a tough unit to kill if things go the right way. Has a little bit of shooting. Interesting. I don't know. But hey, I'm glad to see Stegodons are featured in a couple lists. So, all right, so we're playing the board pretty much here with a big unit of Kroxigor as kind of our damage dealers. That's pretty much all that's doing the damage. The Scar Veteran on Carnosaur can take out smaller things. The Aggradon Lancers can take out smaller things, but really it's your Kroxigor that are your hammers. So everything else kind of playing the board. All right, cool stuff. I think that was all for that was the top list for Nova. Let's see if we see one more here. One more we could focus on. I haven't looked at it yet. Okay, here's the next one. Let's see. How did he... Nope, I clicked on the wrong guy. Let's go back to that. Patrick. Let's see. All right, so... Oh, he's got the Regiment around. Oh, that's a good one, because this has ended up popping up in a few lists. I've seen this before. So, Sunclaw, same thing as always. Slann Starmaster. 2 reinforced units of Aggradon Lancers. Okay, he does have Beastmaster. I was looking for Beastmaster on there somewhere. He put the Coatl Familiar on the Starseer. Interesting. So there must be something he's really wanting to cast with that. Maybe the War Scroll spell, like if he really needs to shut off a ward, if it's that critical. You're in Sunclaw. Huh. I don't know. It could just be one of the Morbid Conjurations, so maybe he's just leaving it open for that. It does, I mean, it means that your Slann's at +1. This guy has an extra dice roll to cast, so it could be useful there. A couple units of Source Guard and some Raptadon Chargers there. Okay, so your big hitters are the Aggradon Lancers. All right, cool. Oh, and the Regiment of Rounds. So an interesting Regiment of Rounds, Saviors of Cinderfall. Coalesce and Toll. Now, is this... I'd have to look this up, but is this the one that can like teleport around, or is this the Wizard Hunters? I keep forgetting which one that one is. Regiment of Renowns. All right, you can be looking this up at the same time I am. They get some buffs there. Marked for Justice. These are like the Wizard Hunters, right? Yeah, double the damage characteristics for units, weapons for attacks that target wizards, priests, and manifestations. All right, so maybe you're just kind of using them as a utility piece to go after your wizards or take off the other Morbid Conjurations that are going to be on the board. Because what's more fun than a game of Warhammer that has 8 endless spells in the middle of the board? So it'll help you remove some of those to clear the board on your turns. So, all right, interesting stuff. All right, let me know if I didn't see your list. I was just looking at BCP. So if I know there's some other ones out there, or sometimes BCP doesn't show me some of the lists. Like I had to go search up Nova. It wouldn't show me the Seraphon list when I'm searching on just Seraphon. I don't know why. So if I missed yours, sorry about that. Let me know below in the comments how you did over the past few weeks and what your list was. And we'll see you guys next time.